lovely to see everyone. I haven't been on Zoom the last couple of weeks. I've been very tied up with some background planning and work. So it's lovely to see all of you. I haven't seen some of you for a few weeks. We are delighted to have Silvia with us. Silvia, pronounce your surname for me.
Nacamulli.
Okay, there we are. Much better than I could have done it. I haven't quite got the accent. So you'll all have read the article in the newsletter. Silvia is well known for cooking for the soul. And I can't remember where I got your name from, Silvia, but somebody recommended you. And I think that was where we got in touch with each other.
Yes.
So Silvia is going to, I say cook, she's going to make a no-bake cheesecake, which sounds ideal. And I'm sure it's going to be delicious, and you're all going to be running off to make it. And she's going to talk to us about cooking for the soul, Jewish cooking, her Italian background. So I'm going to spotlight Silvia in the center of the screen. As I say, we're recording this for YouTube, so you'll be able to follow it at your leisure afterwards. And if you've got any questions, just pop them through chat. You're welcome to put them through chat as Silvia's going through her talk, and I will then relay them to her. If you have a comment on something she's doing, we're always delighted to hear your feedback, and Silvia would love to hear some feedback as we go along. So Silvia, let's spotlight you. Yay, there you are in the screen. I hope everyone can hear. As I say, pop anything you want to pop to chat. I'm going to pop myself on mute, Silvia, so I don't disturb you. But I'm obviously on screen the whole time, and I'll pop in and out with any comments or questions. So thank you for giving your time to us, and welcome everyone, and enjoy.
Thank you so much, Susan. First of all, really thank you, Susan, to being in touch with me and help me organize this throughout. Welcome everyone, and it's a real privilege for me to be able to do a cookery demonstration for AGR today. And I know of the charity. I've been in London for over 20 years, so and it's really a wonderful charity. So I really feel privileged to be able to share a little bit of my cooking with all of you. And thank you for joining me in this amazing sunny day, very Italian weather. But it's good actually that the dish that we're gonna make, it's a cold dish. So it's a no-bake cheesecake. So it's actually perfect for this weather. If you make it today, or if you make it tomorrow, it will last for a couple of days in the fridge, 2 3 days even until Sunday. So you can make it and then have it for Shabbat or throughout the weekend. And the weather is going to be nice throughout the next few days, so hopefully you'll be able to do that. So as Susan said, my name is Silvia Nacamulli. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself, or about the work that I do here in London, and then we're going to make the cheesecake together. As there is no baking time or no cooking time, I'm more than happy to really play by ear. And if any of you would like to interrupt me or say something or ask any question, you can do that either by typing, and Susan will very kindly read it out to me, or you can just unmute yourself. I really don't mind, and you can ask me directly any question that you may have. Okay, so if is anyone gonna cook? Actually, it would be good for me to know. I'm gonna come closer by. I want to understand, is anyone gonna cook with me today? If you do, then just put your hands up, and I will kind of scroll through and see. It mostly will help me to understand the rhythm of making things. Okay, great. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Silvia Nacamulli. I'm from Rome, although I've been here for 21 years, 22 years actually. My Italian accent somehow it gets stronger by the day for some reason. I grew up in Rome, where the importance, and I'm Jewish Italian, and the importance of food has been paramount. So it's really the combination of two food worshipping cultures, the Italian one and the Jewish one. As food is concerned, it's a bit of a double whammy, but actually the food that comes out is quite delicious. Now, a little bit of history background, not history, yes, the historical perhaps framework of the Italian Jewish cuisine is that really Rome is the oldest Jewish community in the Western world. Jews have been there for over 2,000 years. A presence had been registered already in 200 BC. However, a large number came as slaves with the Romans after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD. And since then, there's been a continuous presence of Jews in Rome. They've really been through thick and thin, and it's still very much a thriving community. So it's a small community. Rome has got about maybe 13,000 Jews. In all of Italy, there are about maybe 30, a bit less perhaps as well, less I think by now. But Rome is the biggest community. After Rome, there is Milan, there are a few in Venice, in Florence, Bologna, but mostly in the center north. And in the south is quite interesting because there used to be the largest part of Jews in Italy used to be very much in the south. So in Sicily, Calabria, Puglia, in Sardinia, and Campania. In Sicily alone, there seems to be records of about 40,000 Jews living in there at one specific time. And that was all before the expulsions of the Jews and the beginning of the Spanish Inquisition, because the South used to be part of the Spanish Empire, and with the expulsion of the Jews, those that stayed, they were forced to convert, and those that left, they settled into the center and north part of Italy. So the Jews of Rome, where I'm from, they are either Roman Jews that came straight from what was this, Palestine over 2,000 years ago, or mostly came from the south of Italy, and they are Sephardi Jews. Although if you go to a synagogue in Rome and you take a praying book, it really follows the Italian minhag, so the Italian ways of praying and singing and so on. In the north, there's been more kind of Ashkenazi influence in Venice, Turin, but Rome, it's very much kind of Italian and a bit of Sephardi influence to it. As Italian Jewish cooking goes, is really it's inspired by Italian cooking because people have been there for over 2,000 years. Jews have been there for over 2,000 years. However, they also, of course, get inspired by the cold cuts. For example, in Italian cooking, there is a lot of cold cuts of pork, and in Italian Jewish cooking, there would be, instead of pork, you would use or you would use beef. In Rome or in the north, you would use goose, and you'd change the way of either the ingredients or a way of combining ingredients, or not meat and milk, in order to conform to kosher rules, and in the process you create new and original dishes. And the dishes can be either very old from the time of the get-go or very new, and this is really what it brings us to today, because this no-bake cheesecake is actually a cheesecake that I created myself, thinking, having been living, because in Italy there's not much culture of cheesecake as we would have here, or even more in the States. It's something that perhaps in the last decade, or maybe two, we kind of got introduced more with the globalization of cooking as such. But mostly so it's a relatively new thing. So it's something that I really acquired and learned to make here while living in England. But then I tried to actually combine it to what kind of flavors I'm most familiar with and which are the ones that I most enjoy. So I'm going to, oops, sorry, 1 second. I'm trying to let someone here. Hello, welcome for joining. So I'm combining the Amaretto Biscuits, which are very Italian, and then mascarpone cheese, which is very Italian. And of course, then I'm still combining with some digestive, which are English, and the Philadelphia general cream cheese. So I'm really marrying. It's probably showing how you can really marry different cultures and take the best out of it and create something new. So the flavor is going to be a no-bake cheesecake. You do gonna taste the Italian flavors into it. I'm adding some fresh lemon zest and lovely raspberries on top. So it's really a combination of a couple of elements to it. So I hope you're either gonna cook with me today or make it with me today, or else you should all have hopefully recipes hand out, and you can either do it at your own time. And it's really one of those desserts that whenever I make it, people just really seem to appreciate it very much, and they always ask for the recipe. So I decided to share it with the world. So if any of you has any question at any stage, please don't be shy to ask. And at the end, if you want to ask about either the no-bake cheesecake or about the Italian juice or the history bit or the cultural bit or whatever you like to ask, then let me know. I'm going to start by reading the ingredients, and we're going to start by making it, okay? So we're going to have Amaretto biscuits. To create the base of the cheesecake, I'm going to mix Amaretto biscuits, digestives, and butter, okay? These three combined together. So I'm going to use a food processor. You can do it by hand if you want, but the food processor works a treat, okay? So I'm going to mix everything together. So I'm going to mix, I'm going to just pulse this very quickly, and then I'm going to add the butter in it. It makes a little bit of a noise. So while it goes, I'm not going to speak, okay? Okay, just to kind of break most, oh, I'm gonna break it a little bit more. Yes, hold on. And now I'm gonna add the butter, and I'm gonna really leave it to amalgamate together and create a nice gluey, really kind of sticky base. Let me have, so the butter should really be at room temperature. Which with the weather of today, it's ideal for it. So, so the quantities are. Hold on, I'm gonna mix this together. And I'll tell you in a second, okay? Needs to go for longer. Oops. In the meantime, I'm going to create the base. Oh, if someone, Susan, I don't know if I can see people writing, but I can't read from here. So Susan, if you can read what's written.
It's fine. Yeah. It was me just saying to everyone if they wanted to put their comments through chat.
Ah, so okay, fine.
Don't worry about any of that. I'll just,
that's fine.
I'll just
Thank you.
hop on and
thanks. Almost there. I can see scrambled, but I just would like it to be a little bit more combined together. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir at the base. So if you were doing it by hand, you can just crumble it with your hands. You can put it inside a Ziploc bag, and then with a rolling pin, bash it a bit. And then you maybe melt the butter a little bit rather than pure room temperature, not melted, something in between, and then mix it well together, but not completely melted, otherwise it doesn't quite absorb in the same way. Okay, oh, I love the smell actually. Even if it's not warm, you really can smell the amaretto and the digestive. Now, we're gonna do it in a non-stick, it doesn't matter that much it is a non-stick because we're gonna use parchment, but it's quite nice to do it in a spring foam tin, because then you can easily detach the base. If you don't have one, then perhaps do it in a, I don't know, in a Pyrex or in a nice dish that then you don't mind bringing it to the table. But ideally this way you would be able to just detach and transfer it. Now, the greaseproof paper helps quite a lot in this case, because then you can remove it. And instead of cutting it exactly the same size, I'm gonna show you this little trick if you don't know it already, which is quite handy. You open the base, you add this on top, and then you close it, okay? So this way, it really sticks to the base, and then you can just cut around. You can leave a little bit of an edge, because anyway it doesn't go in the oven, so it's gonna be easier to then remove, okay? So this is how.
I'm going to say that's the best trick I've ever seen.
It is one good one. I remember when I initially learned it, I wouldn't believe it, and I've been teaching it this since, and sometimes I say, you know, just for this was worth coming today.
Honestly, I do a lot of baking, and I sit there like drawing round, so, and I can see a lot of people nodding on here, so I can't be the only one.
I know, no, because it's a handy one, and when you see it, you say, of course, why couldn't I think of it before? So I'm very pleased if anyone didn't know it.
Okay, well, I can see lots of people
because
nodding along, so
okay, great.
I was definitely the only one. Well done.
Oh, thank you. But it's just a handy one because of course it applies to any cake or dessert that you make. Okay, so that's a really good starting point to have this. So I'm gonna transfer now the mixture and into the base. Oops, and here you go. And then there's really nothing you can do it. Hold on, I'm gonna remove this from the side. Oops, here we go. So you have more space. So you can do it with the spoon and really push through. I'm gonna show you how it's gonna look at the end. I'm gonna come closer to you, but you can also do it with your hands or with the back of your hands. There's really, I think in the kitchen, or not only, there's quite nothing like your hands sometimes to really create, because like that you can really feel and create and understand the best pressure. So I'm gonna do it now with the spatula, and then I'm gonna eventually, I promise, have clean hands, and I'm gonna just kind of have a feel at the end to make sure there is the right pressure being put on. Okay, you see, I'm just kind of going just with the base, but actually it's good. Did a good job. Okay, can you see? So it's nicely based, and now we're gonna put it in the. I'm gonna put this in the fridge while I make the mixture. Okay, so that because it's quite warm also now. So I'm gonna go and put it in the fridge. I'll be right back, and then we're gonna do the mix of the cream. If any of you has any question, please do ask. I'll be right back.
Hi, Sylvia. I'm sure you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can.
So I know we have the recipe sheet.
Yeah.
If anybody wants that recipe sheet, you can always email me if you haven't printed it out. But a couple of people have said, could you just talk through the quantities as
absolutely
through?
Yes. Okay. So the quantities are quite easy because you can really play and stretch them. So it's the same quantity of the 3 elements that I just used. So there's 80 grams of amaretto biscuit, 80 grams of digestive, and 80 grams of butter. So in case you want to double it or do 1.5, you just increase everything exactly proportionally. Okay, so the one that the 80 grams give an 8-inch cake, which is quite small, but it's quite rich. So it's plenty, and it's full of cheese and butter and lovely things. So you don't, unless you're having a party or a lot of people, then I think that's kind of a good quantity to have. So it's 80 grams of amaretti biscuits, 80 grams of digestive, and 80 grams of soft butter. Okay, now the element of the cheeses, we have 200 grams of mascarpone cheese, we have 200 grams of cream cheese. I like to use the light Philadelphia, but if there is another one, or then you like to use, by all means, you can use any of the others. Then we have 80 grams of icing sugar. Then the zest of a lemon, just grated. Vanilla extract. Hold on, I have to actually vanilla. It's here. Sorry, I remember taking it out and leaving it there. Sorry about that. So vanilla extract. 100 milliliter of whipping cream or double cream, and actually I'm going to start with that. So although the recipe says to mix the cheeses with everything before, as I have only just one set of the mixer, and in order not to go and come back and wash it again, I'm going to start with the whipping cream, and then I'm going to do the second part, okay? Because whenever you do the whipping cream, you need to have real clean whisks. Well, actually, the others, they can also be used with the same whisk, okay? And then a pinch of salt and raspberries or blueberries, or you can be as creative as you want on top. Okay, so literally, I'm gonna whip the cream, but enough just to whip it. Doesn't need to be too firm, okay? Because otherwise it becomes kind of too thick. Well, actually, you want enough to just be able to mix it with the rest of the ingredients. So again, I'm gonna make a little bit of noise. So I'm not gonna talk while this goes on. I will show you how much I mix it in a minute, okay? I'll try. Almost there. Excellent. Okay, so you see, it's just firm enough that it doesn't really lean, but it's not super hard. Okay, so the cream is ready, and now in the other bowl, I'm basically gonna mix all the other ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to mix the mascarpone. Oops. And I'm gonna literally just mix all the ingredients. I'm gonna use the same whisk as this. So you can do it by hand. So you don't necessarily need a mixer, although for the cream, also that you could do it by hand, but it's quite hard. I'm gonna mix the cheeses together. So the mascarpone, the Philadelphia, the icing sugar, the lemon zest, and a little bit of so here's a teaspoon. Yes, I don't measure things that much unless it's really important for the baking. So this is all of them together. I'm gonna mix it just initially with the spoon, and now just to kind of appease that icing sugar, otherwise it becomes.
Question: do we need to?
Yeah.
Do we need to sieve the icing sugar?
No, it doesn't really matter because we're gonna mix now with the mixer, so it's gonna mix thoroughly throughout. So it's fine. But good, yeah.
Another question yes. Is where did your love of cooking come from? Was it a family thing?
Yes. So as mentioned at the beginning, I'm Italian Jewish, so it's a bit of a double whammy. Like I grew up in an environment where food was like paramount, and everyone was just cooking around me, and I absorbed all my cooking by inertia. My mom is a wonderful cook, and my father as well, and so my siblings, and I'm the youngest of three, and somehow I just and they all cook very well, and I kind of took for granted that wonderful food is kind of something that everyone eats. And then when I left the house, and I realized, what, really? So I kind of I really appreciate even more kind of the background that I came from. So my background is quite different. I call myself as more of a cook rather than a chef, because although I'm perhaps a chef by default because I've been doing it for almost 20 years now. My background is I went to Israel when I left Italy, excuse me, over a while back, let's say that. And I went to Jerusalem, and I did my undergraduate in political science there. And I lived in Israel for 6 years, and was wonderful. And then I came to London in '98 and to do a master. So I came to study, and I did a master at the London School of Economics in politics of the world economy. So something rather different than what I do now. But throughout my years of university and early adulthood, the food has always been very much part of who I am, and people always been asking me to cook for them or to share a recipe, and eventually, as a change, I worked for internet company, international development, for some years, and then I left, and I thought of maybe I come from a family of self-employed entrepreneurs. So for me, the idea of working on my own has always been quite a natural kind of development of myself. I just never thought that would have been kind of the cooking, but so I started giving cookery lessons, and I thought initially it was going to be like a temporary thing until I find out what I want to do. And London has been wonderful to me, and all of you really, really appreciating the recipes that I make, and then I saw that actually that why not to create a real business out of it. So that was 18 years ago. So I've been doing it for quite some time. So I do a combination of teaching, and I do some catering, food deliveries. I'm writing a book on Italian Jewish cooking. So if you're interested, I can let you know once it's going to be out. It's probably going to be maybe this time next year. I'm just finalizing things with the publisher at the moment, but it should definitely
that would definitely be of interest. I can see people nodding along and writing that down.
So it's a place basically where I'm gonna tell about all this story that I'm sharing with you today, and of course much more. So it's really a passion that I learned from my family, and I brought it with me. And the thing also of living abroad, and you kind of sense, and my family have been in Italy for a at least 500 years for if they came from the south of Italy as Sephardi, or 2,000 years if they came from the Jews that came from Palestine at the time. So like to be the one that left and went to London, it's quite a sense of responsibility. So I feel the food really attach you to your roots. It gives a sense of identity. It touches senses of your childhood. So it's something that I particularly enjoy for myself and for my daughters. I have 9 years old twin daughters, and for me it's really important that they have an understanding at least, or a feeling, or a taste perhaps of what is the Italian cuisine and Italian Jewish cuisine. So it's been very much of a natural development of what do I do and why I decided to cook and share it. But it's very much connected to my identity, the way I grew up, and the fact that also I'm an Italian Jewish mama, really, and I really take joy by feeding, and that's perhaps the thing that I miss the most, by not be able to teach in person, or because usually I would make all this in front of you in person, and then I would feed you. I would share my food with you, with all of you. So I hope perhaps maybe once my book is out in a year's time, we'll all be out of this, and maybe we can do it. We can do it in person. But I do miss the sharing the actual food when I do the cookery demonstrations. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this because it's quite delicate with this. Okay, I'm gonna make a little bit of noise again, just mixing everything together, okay? And then we're gonna fold in the cream. I'm gonna start low speed. I'm gonna keep an eye down because it's quite delicate. Getting together. Okay, I'm gonna, wonderful. I'm gonna take a pinch of salt, which I have here. Yeah. Gonna mix it again, and then I'm gonna fold in the cream cheese. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Whoops. Voila. So I'm gonna show you how it looks at the moment. Okay, so all amalgamated together, and then I'm going to combine this double cream. Actually, this is whipping cream, but it's the same, basically. I never quite understood if there is like a real difference. Whenever I can't find whipping cream, I buy double cream and works perfectly fine. If any of you knows the difference, then please do let me know. But the double cream works just as well, and you can use it in the same way. Okay. So the idea is to just combine everything together. So this dish, we thought of making it because of the coming of Shavuot, where you eat all things dairy. So if you do have a chance to make it for then, if not before, you can make it once before to try it, and the next time to make it. Okay, I'm gonna. They say that it's important to try your food, so I'm just gonna try to mostly to see if there's any more salt or maybe more lemon that you can kind of just add. It's lovely, actually. Ooh, very happy with that. Okay, I'm gonna go in my fridge, and if you're cooking alone, then you can take the base of the cheesecake from the fridge, and we're just gonna cover it up. Okay, so that's the base, and the spatula, here we go. Voila. So sorry. So by the way, welcome to my dining room. This is our dining room. I have a nice big kitchen actually, but doesn't have an island. So somehow it works better to be in this area here. And I'm going to transfer all this lovely mixture in here. So you can see, I just want to show you again how it is, and it's like firm. You can transfer it. So it's not a particularly high cake, but actually you don't really need it that high because it's quite rich. So it's going to be enough to cover, to kind of get to the edge. But also in general, it's funny, but Italian cakes, they're not quite kind of as high as in the UK or in the States. They tend to be lower, but not less tasty. So I think that's quite important. And I'm gonna put this here. Very nice. I had another little try. And what we're gonna try to do now, I'm gonna flatten it into one layer, as flat as possible. You can use one of the, I have one of those flat spatula, but actually this works perfectly well. And eventually you know the tin is gonna go away, so it doesn't really matter if the edges on the tin are not quite perfect. Okay, gonna make it a little bit more equal. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. Now at this stage, what we need to do, we need to leave it in the fridge for at least 4 hours. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put some beautiful raspberries on top, but I'm not quite gonna do this. I'm literally, I wouldn't put them in any specific shape. I would just scatter them around and add some fresh mince with you on top. And if you want, you can add some blueberries as well. I have some blueberry as well. Yeah, but really the best way now is to cover it. Oops, is to cover this with cling film and leave it for at least 4 hours. I'm probably gonna have it, I don't know, over the weekend, either tomorrow night or probably not, but maybe a meat. So we have probably gonna have it so Saturday. So I wouldn't decide to put the raspberry before, but you can, by all means, you can do the cake beforehand. Okay, and then just even a couple of hours before, if you do it the day before, you can kind of decorate the top, or you can just do it last minute and then decorate the top. And if you do like things in pattern, you can put the raspberries in pattern, or you can mix raspberry with the blueberries, or you can put blackberries as well. You can put strawberry. You can really be as creative as you want with the top. I think the raspberry go quite well because also with the lemon, but it's completely up to you. But this now it really needs to chill for a minimum of 4 hours because then whenever it's going to be ready, it's going to be much easier to then detach the base and then transfer it into a cake into a plate by just peeling the base. Okay, and then you would have to keep it in the fridge if you don't eat it all in one go, and you will keep well for maybe 3-4 days. It will become more soggy, but like, yeah, 3-4 days perhaps top. No, not longer than that. And of course, make sure that all the cheeses you're using are really fresh, and that the fruit is really fresh. And yeah, but otherwise it will keep really, really well. Do you have any question? Anyone has any question?
So I've had a few questions through chat. If anyone wants to put their questions through chat, I think we haven't got an enormous audience. So actually, I think it'd actually be really nice if we went back onto gallery view. I'm happy to unmute.
Yes, sure.
So one question is a technical question. What question was what depth was the tin? Okay.
Oh, the depth, it doesn't make any difference, but it's like is a 20-inch wide, and I don't know if you think in inches or centimeters. I'm not particularly good in inches, I must say. But this is probably 5-6 centimeters. It's probably gonna be like 4 or 5 centimeters high, the cake altogether, including the base. So yeah.
Okay. Right, give me a wave. Come on, somebody must have some questions.
Angela. If anyone wants to speak their question,
I'm going to unmute you one at a time. So Angela, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
It's nice to see you.
It's
I've got a few questions.
Yes, please.
Firstly, does that make it, the amount of icing sugar you used, doesn't that make it very sweet?
It makes it a bit, but actually the good thing about not being a cake that needs baking is that if you want to reduce the sugar, you can easily do that because it's not going to make any difference in the consistency. Okay, so
it doesn't matter the proportions. Right.
So you can, if you want to halve the sugar, you can halve the sugar.
Freezable or not?
I wouldn't think so. I haven't tried, so perhaps. So I haven't tried, so I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't sign off.
Okay.
However, perhaps if you do freeze it, then I would just eat it almost as a semifreddo. So to plan to then.
Right. Yes.
Do you see what I mean? Like to decide to thaw it, not to leave it completely to the frost. Thaw, but actually have it as almost, the semifreddo, like in between an ice cream and
nice dessert. And the other question is, I've made a similar version, but I'd used, because it had to be gluten-free, I used ginger biscuits and digestive biscuits, gluten-free ones, which were really pretty ghastly, but with the mixture, it was tolerable. I mean, would you do it with all ginger biscuits or not?
Yes, so I tried with ginger biscuits and it's really nice, but they're very strong in flavor. So I would try to perhaps half it with something else. Now, let me just check the Amaretto. 1 second, I'm just taking the Amaretti box. Just showing on the ones I used.
I've never used Amaretto, I must
say. So these are the Amaretti biscuits that you found at the Waitrose. Because usually they shouldn't really have any
gluten,
any flour. Actually, this one it does.
Yeah,
this one it does.
Trouble. You have to be so careful.
Yeah, but you can find quite a lot of other biscuits or things that are probably similar. Perhaps check for gluten-free tea biscuits, rich tea types that would work quite well. Or I haven't tried the gluten-free digestive, but I could see.
They were ghastly. Absolutely ghastly.
Fair enough. Okay.
Although, as I said, they didn't really notice in that mixture, but
yeah. But ginger biscuits, ginger biscuits, they work really well actually, and they give a lovely kick, but they're quite strong. So if you're happy with the flavor, that's fine. Otherwise, perhaps half it with something else.
Thank you very much. Now I will try your version as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely cake.
Thanks a lot.
Sylvia, someone's asked me why do you use the pinch of salt? Is it just for flavor, or is there something else involved?
Okay, so that's a good question. I use a pinch of salt for all of my desserts. So what salt does, enhances flavors of things generally. So it brings a balance really between all the different elements that we have. It kind of brings out the flavor of all of them. So first of all, if you forget of all things, it's fine. It's probably the best thing to forget if you forget something. So don't worry if you do. And if you rather leave it out, you can also leave it out. But it's just because any dessert with a pinch of salt, it just brings out the flavor of all the ingredients a touch more.
Okay. Right, anyone else? Give me a wave if you've got a question. Alice, are you waving to me? Or are you no? Just saw your little hand. Anyone? Right, Anna Russell. Hi, Anna. Let's unmute you. You just need to unmute. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Silvia.
Hi,
I just need to ask you, it sounds wonderful. I can't wait to make it actually. But if I were to want to make it the lighter version with the ricotta cheese, which ingredient would I leave out, or instead of the mascarpone maybe, or the Philadelphia? I'm sure.
So it's a good question, because ricotta, I'm a big fan of ricotta. I love ricotta. But it does not quite have the same consistency because it's more granular.
Of course.
So first of all, if you use the ricotta, make sure that you really drain it well. Okay. Perhaps you could, let's say that the Philadelphia is probably the universal cheesecake element. Okay. So so perhaps you can replace the mascarpone, or maybe you can try and mix the two. Or if you, is it because maybe the mascarpone it's more fatty than the light Philadelphia. So perhaps if you already want to reduce it, replace it in order to do it a bit lighter, then remove the mascarpone, which is a bit heavier, and try with the ricotta.
Lovely, thank
you.
But
if you do try with the ricotta, and if it does work well, would you let me know, please?
Okay, I will. Thank you. I will.
Because I'm always curious, and people always ask me for alternative ways of doing certain things, and I'm always very happy also to hear if other version of it works. So if you do, then you can drop me an email. It's Silvia.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Helen, I can see you waving. Let's unmute you. You have to unmute.
Right.
Hello. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Hi, Helen.
Can I just say something about cheeses? I come from Poland, and have you heard of curd cheese? Which is not as fat and not so, and then a bit soury. And I found that works very well with maybe mascarpone and maybe with other other cheeses, but that curd cheese, I find it very suitable for cheesecake because it's got a little bit of soury taste and it's smooth.
Yes, it's a good cheese. I wonder if that works particularly well with baked versions of cheesecakes.
Yeah, maybe it is better with burger. You're quite right.
Just because of the baked version and the sourness, which I think it works best with that.
It is. I used to always use it as a baked version.
Yes, So, but by all means, I think that's it. And actually, you can really find so many amazing cheeses now that you can really.
It's got to be a smooth cheese.
Anyway. It does. Yes,
not
yes.
cottage cheese, definitely not.
Yes, no, but thank you for your note. That's a good tip. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I've had a question through chat.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a desire to open a restaurant and run your own restaurant?
I haven't had a desire for a restaurant as such, mostly because of the lifestyle that a restaurant would imply, and having a young family, and the kind of the reality of life and the reality of what. But perhaps more of a deli. I think like kind of a deli where I would cook, daily food and be open up to a certain time, whatever is sold for so it's a very romantic idea of a deli that I have in mind. Yeah, but I don't think I might do a restaurant, but you never know. But yeah,
it's quite a hard lifestyle, I would say.
It's quite, yeah, also because I love to cook. So if I know that if I would get a restaurant, I would really want to be in the kitchen, but I also enjoy the cooking and seeing people reaction and kind of chatting to people. So either would be like a really small, nice restaurant place, but then probably would defeat the economic part of it. So, and my lifestyle. So eventually I thought about it. So because you can see, I thought about it for many years. And my daughters, they've been saying, you should open something, you should. So I don't know, never say never, but if it will be something, perhaps it might be more of a deli style rather than a proper restaurant.
It's funny because you say about your daughters, and I really think, I mean, food and, the kids nowadays are really into their food, and, they're quite competitive with their cooking. And I think that's amazing, because I really do think that comes from, as you say, what you see at home. If you grow up in a home where you didn't see home cooked meals, it's very different. So
yes, it's a really nice, and they are both quite interested, one more than the other. But like for one that goes to school, and she says the best thing of lockdown was eating my food every day. She said, rather than going back to this school lunches that she doesn't seem to enjoy quite as much. So I took that as a compliment, I guess. But that makes them also more interested into food. And I've also just fed them anything since the age of really 1, until from the moment they can really eat anything, whatever we were eating, they were eating. So I never made special different food for them. I think kids can, they grow up whatever they see, and that's what they take there. So it's but I do think it comes from home. So I try. We'll see what comes out in a few years.
In fact, funnily enough, my son is a really good cook. He can't clear up. He uses every dish in the kitchen. He cooks dinner.
How old is he?
He's 29, but it takes me like 4 hours to clear up. He's actually moved out now, so he can do it in his own house. But he was always interested from a young age, which is really funny, much more actually than my daughters were. He's
I teach a lot of boys. I teach a lot of boys also. It's changed a lot also in the last 15 years. The kind of interest that comes from youngsters, and actually I do Duke of Edinburgh Awards on cooking with some, and I did a group not long ago of Abs boys, and it was great. They really want to kind of get some skills that then you bring with you throughout your students' years and hopefully beyond. But
no, definitely, and I think, with the rise of the celebrity chef, and there's so many programs on television, the boys are definitely into their cooking. They're quite, times have changed a lot. Have we got any more questions? Anyone else got any questions? Going to give me a little wave. What we are, Patricia, I'm going to unmute you. You just need to unmute, Patricia. Oh. Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? You've frozen now. Hi, Patricia. We can
I've
hear you.
been making notes, but you said something about you distributed the rest.
Yeah,
I didn't get anything.
Right. There was a click
yeah.
on the link in the newsletter, but if you drop me an email, I'll just forward it on to you, or I'll actually make a note. There were 2 of you who wanted the recipe.
Oh, thank you.
3, I think there is, yes, well, Alice as well.
I've been scribbling it down, but
yeah, it's fine. Alice,
thank you very much.
Patricia, Patricia,
very interesting.
Helen, yes.
Patricia Towns. I'll drop the email to you. So what we'd like is we'd like you to try the recipe, give us some feedback, which I will pass on to Silvia,
yes,
and then
please.
Hopefully we can reconvene at some point, Silvia. Maybe do another recipe, and who knows, maybe we could actually meet in person. As I said, we're going to continue this Zoom program, but it would be lovely if we could do something when, I don't know, maybe we could do a cook along with you.
Yes, there will be, yes. Any type really, can be 1 dish, can be 2 dish, can be around a holiday, a Rosh Hashanah or a Hanukkah, or just for fun, just for making something, or
and are your family still in Italy, Silvia?
Yes, so all my family is in Rome, and yeah, so I'm the only one who kind of.
Well, hopefully you'll get to visit. I know before when we started, before the audience joined us, I said to you how much I love Rome, and the shore there is amazing, and Bar Ghetto, if you want a nice kosher.
Yes, Baghetto. Yes, there's lots of if you go to the ghetto in Rome, there's so many different restaurants, really buzzing, and that actually that area changed so much in the last 10-15 years, and you can have very interesting tour of the ghettos, and it's really worth going once things open up.
Well, hopefully hopefully we'll get to meet in person. Hopefully our members will try this delicious recipe. I am definitely going to try it.
Yeah, let me know how it goes. If you
have
any question,
downstairs,
you can.
As I said to you, I had a massive leak in my kitchen this morning, so I'm dreading to think what's going on down there. Thank you everyone for joining us. Silvia,
thank you so much for coming, and thank you so very much for organizing.
It was so interesting. I think you've probably just touched the tip of the iceberg in your passion for food, and I'm sure we could repeat this at some point. Anyone wants any information from me, email me, but those of you who asked me, I'm going to send you on the recipe now. I can see you all nodding along, and hopefully, as I say, maybe we can arrange something else, Silvia. That would be great. It would be lovely to have inside it when your book comes out, I think.
Yes, so that probably gonna be maybe next spring. I don't know. We'll finalize things in the next few months, but it's I'm just finishing.
You've definitely got your hands full with a book.
And
twins and
yes. And it's okay, we'll manage, it's okay.
Has anyone got any questions just before we leave? I don't want to have missed anyone out. Or one person, Alice, let me just unmute you. Can you unmute, Alice? Just need to press your, oh, where have you gone? Here we are. Alice, can you unmute? Oh, hello, hi.
Hi.
Hello, I was just wondering, for people who live on their own and haven't got family to share, is it possible to do this at half measures?
Yes, absolutely. So the beauty of it, it's really, you can just half the quantities and make it, even a fourth, or even really, and you can make ramekins.
Yeah, but also how big is your tin? Is it 20 centimeters or 20?
Yes, 20 centimeters. that's the quantity for the one that you're going to receive the recipe for. But you can make small ramekins, so individual persons. So you can make probably half of it would probably make 4 ramekins.
Yeah. No. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yes,
yeah.
But you can definitely reduce the quantities and make it either in a smaller tin or into coffee cups. You know, you can just make coffee like, I don't know, I'm Italian, so espresso cups, and make little bites of it. So you can really play with it in the way that you want, because you don't have the problem of having to bake it, and therefore the timing can get funny or not. So you can just, by all means, you can play with reduce the quantities. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Silvia. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, really, everyone, for joining me on the sunny day. I really appreciate your time with this, and I hope
hopefully we'll do it again. So
ideas.
Enjoy your weekend in the. Hopefully the sun will shine and it will get a little bit warmer, and you'll get to eat your cheesecake sitting in the sun.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.